everybody. I'd love to check to see if you guys can hear me okay because I'm using an iPad today to do this for the first time instead of a phone so that I can hopefully see everybody's comments because I'm on my own here today. So if somebody just wants to comment or heart me or thumbs up me if you guys can hear me and everything looks good. Okay, well, I'll wait for that. But I did want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Elena, and I am here today at the kids' table. We are going to be making lemon bars, which I am very excited about. And I think my kids at home are going to be very excited about it because I'm going to bring them to them. So let's go ahead and go over our ingredients first, and then we'll talk about our tools, and you guys can kind of gather everything that you need, and then we'll get our hands washed and get started. So of course I have my recipe, which comes in very handy when you're cooking. So we need to make two things for the lemon bars. We need to make a crust and we need to make a filling. So for the crust, we need a stick of softened butter. So I didn't take mine out early enough to soften it at room temperature, but I just put it in the microwave for two minutes on 20% power. So definitely don't put it in the microwave at full power because you'll end up with melted butter. And we just want softened butter. So 1 stick of softened butter. We need sugar, and that's for our crust and our filling. So you need a cup of sugar in total. 1/4 cup goes into the crust, 3/4 of a cup goes into the filling. We need some flour, all-purpose and whole wheat. So if you don't have whole wheat, you can use all-purpose. We just, as you guys know, we love to throw in a little bit of whole wheat whenever we can. So we're using 1/2 cup of all-purpose in the crust plus a few tablespoons in the filling because we want our filling to be a little bit thick, so the flour helps with that. And we need 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour. We're putting another grain in our crust as well, which is ground up oats. So again, if you don't have any oats, you could just add 1/4 cup extra flour. And I'm gonna grind my oats in this awesome manual food processor, but you can use a regular food processor, you know, that uses electric power, or you can even use a coffee grinder. Just make sure you clean it out really well because otherwise you might get a little bit of residual coffee flavor. So that's all we need for our crust. And then for our filling, we need 2 eggs, large ones. Mine said large, but they're pretty large. The recipe says extra large, so, you know, big eggs. And then we need 2 to 3 lemons. My lemons are very big, so I only have 2. And I already mentioned the sugar that we need for the filling and the flour that we need for the filling, and that's it. The only thing you can do if you want is also, oh, I left it up there. I'll get it later. You can have a little bit of powdered sugar for dusting the tops of your lemon bars with. So that can be really fun if you want, optional. Okay, so that's ingredients. Is everybody with me so far? Let me know. You know I love the hearts, that's my favorite, but I'll take a thumbs up, whatever you guys have handy. So I'll go over the equipment that we need. We need 2 mixing bowls, one to make our crust and one to make our filling. So I have that. I also have a spoon, which we will need for the crust. And then I don't have a whisk, but I'm gonna get a whisk. Okay. Ooh, ow. Whisk for our filling, to whisk that up. So we need those. We need some measuring utensils for measuring out our various ingredients. We're gonna need a 1/4 cup measure, a 1/2 cup measure, unless you just want to use 2 1/4 cups, that would be fine too. And then let's see, what else do we need? We need a tablespoon. And then we need something to zest our lemons. So So you can use a grater, a fine hold grater, or if you have one, a zester or a microplane works so much better, so much easier. But these are very, very sharp. So definitely not for young children and not for no supervision. I mean, none of this is for no supervision, right? Because we're cooking, this is real stuff. You'll need a knife, again, that's definitely adult stuff, for cutting the lemons in half to juice them once we get the zest. That's my timer for the magic lemon bars I already made to show you guys. And then that's it. A juicer, unless you want to squeeze them by hand, which you can totally do. That's actually what I do at home. I don't even have a juicer at home. And then for sprinkling the powdered sugar, you can use a little crank sifter, or you can use a fine mesh strainer and a spoon, or a little shaker to garnish if you're garnishing with powdered sugar. You also need some sort of baking dish. The recipe calls for an 8 by 8 inch square baking dish. I actually made mine, and I'm gonna do it today with you guys, in a muffin tin. So that's kind of fun if you want like little individual lemon bar kind of cupcakes, right? But an 8 by 8 inch baking dish works great too. Okay, so that is, and I have a cutting board for zesting my lemons on and for cutting my lemons. So that should cover what we need for our ingredients and our tools. Let's all go wash our hands. I'm gonna go deal with that timer, and I will meet you back here in about 30 seconds. All right, you guys good? You have everything you need? You have your hands clean, very important. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. By the way, I'm gonna have to go check my magic lemon bars again, and they're only magical because at the end of class, while your guys' lemon bars are still in the oven, mine are gonna be magically done, so that you can see the finished product without having to sit and wait 15 or 20 minutes for them to bake while I just sit here. So when the timer goes off again, I'm gonna have to go check them. But let's go ahead and get our crust going. So you're gonna get out, you can move your cutting board off to the side, and you're gonna get out one of your mixing bowls and a wooden spoon. You can also use a whisk for this part, but I did that before, and the butter and the sugar stuck to it. And then I had to switch to a spoon anyway, so I'm just gonna go with a spoon. So you've got to take your stick of softened butter, and again, we don't want melted butter, we want softened butter. Go ahead and put that in your bowl. If it melts a little bit, like I have a little bit of mine melted because I softened it in the microwave, that's okay. So what we're gonna do is we're creaming the butter and the sugar together. So that means that we wanna mix the softened butter and the sugar and mix them until they look nice, and it's like a light white smooth creamy mixture. So I'll show you what it looks like. We need to get a 1/4 cup of sugar and add it to our softened butter. So I'm gonna get a big scoop here, and again, always when you're measuring dry ingredients, make sure to level it off. So I'm gonna use my whole hand and get all that extra sugar off and add it to my bowl. We're gonna need sugar for the filling, so I'm just putting that off to the side. So now you can use the spoon to kind of smash your butter at first, and then you just want to mix it up. So at first it looks kind of clumpy. You can kind of see what that looks like. But just keep going, and the butter will kind of absorb the sugar in the bowl, and it'll get nice and creamy. Oh, that looks so good. It almost starts to get fluffy. It kind of almost starts to look like frosting, which actually, if you think about it, this is buttercream frosting, except that you use powdered sugar typically instead of regular sugar. So let me show you what this looks like. See now, you can see it's nice and smooth and creamy. So that's what we're going for. So now we need to add our dry ingredients for our crust. So we need half a cup of all-purpose flour. So I have that right here. And I'm gonna use a half cup measure. Like I said, you can use a quarter cup and just do 2 scoops. So make sure to fill it all the way up. I'm gonna push my flour in and then gently, because we don't wanna pack it. This is very important when you're measuring flours. You don't wanna pack it down. And go ahead and level it off. Nice flat scoop, and add it to the bowl. That's our flour, our white flour, all purpose. We also need a quarter cup of whole wheat flour. So I have my whole wheat flour and a quarter cup measure. So we'll go ahead and fill that scoop all the way and gently level it off. Perfect. So, last but not least is our oats. And this is really fun because I decided to get out our manual food processor. So this has a blade in here, and then it has a pull string. How cool is that? It's really fun for kids because, you know, especially if we're all cooped up in the house a lot of the time these days, physical activity, you're gonna get some of that energy out. This is a great way to do it. So if you don't have one of these, of course, you can just grind them in a food processor. You could even probably use a mortar and pestle. You could use a lot of stick blenders, have a little attachment that's like a mini food processor. You could use that. And you can even use a coffee grinder. Just clean it out really well. Coffee grinders are great because you can grind a small amount in there. That's my timer. So you guys figure out how you're gonna grind your oats. I'm gonna go check my lemon bars and I will be right back. I think they're done now. You know what that reminded me, guys? Because I just went to my oven. If you guys haven't done so already, you should preheat your oven to 350 degrees. That's what our lemon bars are gonna bake at. And our crust is gonna bake first, which we can do while we make our filling. So, back to our crust. So I've got my oats in this cool thing, and then if you do use one of these, it's helpful if young kids are using it that maybe somebody's holding this down, because it might be hard for them to pull on it and hold it down at the same time. All right, so I'm gonna grind up my oats here. They don't have to be powdered, right? We just want them in pretty small pieces. Okay, you guys ready? This might be kind of loud. How cool is that? It's gonna take about a minute or two. I'm gonna check them. I don't think they're done yet. No, a little bit longer. I've made pesto in these before too. They're really cool. Okay, I'm gonna do 20 more pulls. My arm is getting tired. I might have to switch. This is like instead of a rowing machine, you know? Whew. I'm gonna shake that out. Let's check it, see how it's doing. Almost there. So I still have some bigger pieces, but like I said, I'm not gonna worry too much about there being some slightly larger chunks in there. I think that's totally okay. I had to switch arms. Okay, I'm actually a little bit out of breath. Okay. So this is what it looks like. Let me show you guys. So it's not totally ground. I don't know if you can see, but it's like coarsely ground, which is fine. So we're gonna use a 1/4 cup of these ground oats and add it to our bowl. And I have a little bit extra, which I'm gonna save, and maybe I'll add it to some oatmeal or something, right? Waste not, want not, I believe the saying goes. Okay, so that's all of our crust ingredients in here. We have a stick of softened butter, we have a 1/4 cup of sugar, and we have 1/2 cup of white flour, 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour, and a 1/4 cup of our ground oats. So I'm gonna mix this together, and this is gonna make the dough for our crust for our lemon bars. So it's gonna take, a couple minutes of stirring to get the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients to come together. And I found when I was making these, so if you make it in an 8 by 8 inch baking dish like the recipe card says, you're pressing the crust into one thing. When you make it in the cupcake tins, it takes a little bit more work in a way because you have to press it into each of the cupcake bowls. And I found that the dough was sticking to my fingers, so I coated my fingertips in flour. Because you use flour to keep dough from sticking to like your work surface and your rolling pin, so I thought, why not flour my fingers so that I can use it without the dough sticking? And it worked really, really well. So luckily I have a little extra flour, so we can do that. Okay, so this is what our dough looks like. So it's a pretty wet dough, so hence the sticking problem. Okay, so I am going to, one thing I didn't mention is nonstick spray. So you are gonna wanna grease your pan, and I've got spray that I can use. And the ones that I already made, I used an old spray, and you know how sometimes at the end it just it doesn't really spray, it just kind of drips on everything. So I ended up just getting a little bit of oil on everything and then using my fingers to rub the oil around to nicely coat the sides and the bottom of the cupcake molds. So you can do that, or rub a little bit of butter in each one. You just want to keep the, especially the filling from sticking, because the filling is going to come up a little bit over the crust, and then that will stick to the sides of the pan if they're not greased. So I'm going to spray my pan. This is a newer spray, so I don't have to worry about it gooping everywhere. Okay. So now I have a sprayed pan, and I've got, let me clear up some of my stuff here. I've got my crust, my dough for our crust. So what is helpful is I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on my fingertips here. Instead of pushing everything into the cupcake molds right away, is divvy up the dough first to get about the same amount in each mold, because then you can adjust it without like undoing your work. If you start making crust and then realize, oh, I have too little or too much, you've got to like redo it. So I just kind of plopped, if you will, a little bit of dough in each one, and then before I pressed it into crust, I adjusted and took dough from one cup to another cup to make them about even. All right, it doesn't need to be perfect, just a good estimate. So it should be about like a ball that big. That's maybe an inch. It's not really a ball, it's like a clump of dough. I think I put too much in that one. I can already tell. Okay. There's another one. All right, I've got 7. I think I might need to do some adjustments. I don't think I have enough for 5 more here. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Oh, starting to get a little sticky. Let me add a little bit more flour to my fingers here. Okay. Whoop. Here we go. Oh, well, I'm only 1 short, so I'll take a little bit Well, I have them too short right now, but I still have some in my bowl. I'll take a little bit from each of our other ones, at least some of the bigger ones, to make that last one. Okay. Okay. So now, let's see here. We'll take a little bit of that, a little bit of this one. I gotta flour my fingers again. Okay, a little bit of that one. All right, we're almost there. Okay, I think that's close enough. So now put your crust bowl to the side for a moment because we're going to do something kind of fun with that. But let's get these in the oven. So flour your fingers and then use your fingertips. We want to press the dough into the bottom of the muffin cups, or like I said, if you're using an 8 by 8 inch baking dish, the same thing applies. You're just doing it once for the whole dish. You want it to be about the same thickness over the whole bottom of the dish, and then you want it to go a little bit up the sides. And so the trick too is to press into the corners, you know, whether it's the corners of your round cupcake mold, so that, you know, the dough is kind of flat and then goes up instead of it being really thick around the corner part. So just tap, you know, kind of gently pat, not tap, pat the dough and press it down into the mold and then up the sides a little bit. And again, like I said, all into those corners. I don't know what they're called. It's a circle, so it doesn't really have corners, but you know what I'm saying. I'm sure there's a word for it. Maybe it is corner. So, and you're gonna wanna re-flour your fingertips almost after every one, because the dough is wet enough with that butter that it'll start to stick to your fingers. So we're just kind of going around, pressing down and then up into the sides, and the dough will naturally kind of come up the side. Here, I'll show you what this looks like. See those at the bottom? Maybe I'll turn it like this. Yeah, now they're at the top. So that's what we want it to look like. So it's not gonna fill the whole muffin cup, and that's totally fine, okay? And it's okay if our filling, like I said, it's gonna come up a little bit over our crust. That's also totally fine, because we're gonna bake it. Oh, really sticky. Okay, I've got 5 done. 5 done, moving on to 6, and then I'll be halfway done, because we're making 12. You know Mr. Ben? Do you guys know Mr. Ben? He's one of our instructors, will be again soon, I hope, and our culinary manager in Wicker Park. This is, I think he said this is his favorite kids' table recipe. So that's pretty amazing, because we have hundreds of recipes, and this is Mr. Ben's favorite. I think it's pretty good too. All right, I'm halfway done. I'm on number 7. Into the sides. Oh, this one's a little smaller than the others. That's okay. It's okay not to be perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. Okay, number 8. Into the corners of the circle, up the sides a little bit. So by the way, because we are using we're using whole wheat flour and oats, our crust is half whole grain. So don't get me wrong, I'm not fooling myself here into thinking that our lemon bars are actually healthy. We put an entire stick of butter in our crust. The recipe as a whole has a cup of sugar. But as far as sweet treats go, you know, whole grain is better than not whole grain, right? So these are half whole grain, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, I only have 3 left. We're almost there. Okay, into the bottom, up the sides, reflour the fingers as needed. Okay, 2 more. And the last one, we did it. Okay, now I'll show you what these all look like, and I'm gonna go put mine in the oven. Now the recipe for an 8 by 8 inch baking dish, the recipe says to bake these for 20 minutes or until lightly browned, right? So recipes give you time as an estimate, but you really gotta know what you're looking for to know when they're done. So this is what we have. Look at those pretty little crusts. So I found, because these are smaller than an 8 by 8, you know, it's just one big crust, these took 12 minutes in my oven to get that very light brown around the edges. So that's what I'm gonna set my timer for. I'm gonna go pop these in the oven, and then I'll meet you back here in 20 seconds. Crusts are in the oven. Timer is set for 12 minutes. I made a complete mess on my apron because I wiped all my flour off. Now, I told you not to get rid of your crust batter bowl because I was gonna lick my spoon and kind of get whatever little bits are, because this is pretty delicious. Like mostly butter and sugar, there's a little flour. I just wanted to taste it because there's no egg in here. Our filling has raw egg in it, so we are not gonna be able to taste it, even though it's gonna smell really good. But I'm just gonna, delicious. Tastes like cookie dough. Okay, now let's go ahead and get our filling going. We're gonna do, the recipe says to do the eggs first. I guess we could do that. We'll get our eggs cracked first, make our little eggy mess, and then wash our hands and clean our work surface to get the raw egg off of everything. So 2 eggs, large eggs, extra large eggs. We have our bowl for our filling. So when you crack an egg, make sure to hold it very firmly in the hand that you write with or color with, and then you leave one part of the egg exposed. So I like to hold my thumb on one side and then my index finger kind of on the top and off to the side, and my middle finger on the other side opposite my thumb. So I hold it like that. So you leave this whole edge exposed. Tap it very firmly on a flat surface. So not on an edge, because that can push shell into the egg. So you just want to crack it on the table. Okay, you ready? And then use the tips of your thumbs and open it up, just kind of like it's on a hinge, like a door. Just kind of separate the 2 halves, and then the egg pops right out. My hands are very eggy. If you get shell in your bowl, don't worry. Okay, you ready? I'm gonna do it again. There we go. And tips of the thumbs in. Oh, separate it, open it up, and boom, we have 2 eggs. So now I need to wash my hands, because you guys know raw egg can make you sick. You do not want to eat it. You do not want to get it all over your kitchen or all over your tools and stuff. So I'm gonna wash my hands, and then I'm gonna get a little bit of spray and just wipe the raw egg off my table. Okay? Spray on here. I didn't want to spray my food. I just wipe all that up. Okay, so now we have our 2 eggs in here, and I didn't get any shell in, but if you did, that's okay. You can take, I should have shown you this, but I already got rid of my eggs and washed my hands. You can take half of your eggshell and use it as like a little scoop to scoop out any bits of shell that fell in your bowl. No problem. Okay, so we have our 2 eggs in here. Now we need our lemon, okay? So this is the fun part. So you definitely want your lemon whole for this because we need the zest. So this is the peel, the yellow peel of the lemon, okay? Lots of times we use all kinds of citrus zest. You can use lime zest, you can use orange zest. So in this recipe, it's cool because we're using not just the lemon juice, but the lemon zest, this bright, beautiful yellow peel, and the juice. Okay, so we're using more of the lemon, which is really fun, because how often do you just use the juice and like throw the rest of the lemon away? And the lemon peel is so delicious, very strong. The thing with zesting the lemon is you only want the yellow part. You don't want the white part underneath. That's called the pith, and it's a lot more bitter. So we want to avoid getting any of it or too much of it in our lemon bars. So as far as how to get the peel off, there's many different ways you can do it. You can use a fine hold grater and press the lemon into the grater and let the blades just like it grates cheese, it grates the lemon zest. And then when you see the white part, you stop and turn your lemon to zest other parts of it, and you just keep doing that. Grating, turning the lemon. So a grater can work. It's a little bit hard. I'm not gonna lie. So what I would suggest using if you have it is one of these awesome tools. So this is a microplane, and this works really, really well. But it's a bit sharper than a grater, which is why it works so well. So you have to be really careful, okay? But I'm gonna use this, and you can see how much more easily it peels or zests the lemon. Oh, it smells so good. So you just keep turning, and you want all the yellow and very little white. So we need 2 tablespoons total of lemon zest, which for my size lemons here is all the zest from both these lemons, because I just did this for my magic lemon bars. So you can measure it out, which I will do for fun, but it's going to be all the zest from these 2. So see, look, you can see that I've gotten the yellow peel off a lot of my lemon, and I went a little too far in that one spot, but that's okay. The other thing you can do if you don't have a grater that works really well, you can take the peel off with a knife and then mince the yellow part of the peel. The thing with that is it can sometimes be hard to just get the yellow off when you're using a knife to peel it and not the white pith. So, you know, just try it different ways, see what works for you. All right, I think I got about as much zest as I can off here. Yeah, looking good. So we're not done with that because we need the juice. Oh my gosh, look at all of that I got off of one lemon. So let's actually see, where did I put my tablespoon? Tablespoon. Ah, it was behind my bowl. So I'm gonna see how we did here. Oh my gosh, it's exactly, I mean, it's a very packed tablespoon. I love a lot of lemon so I'm okay with that. So I've got one tablespoon. So now we'll do the other lemon. And so I'm pretty confident now that this is going to be another tablespoon because they are the same size. So I'm just spinning. You got to make sure to keep your fingers away from this. I mentioned hold the lemon really firmly so it doesn't slide around. But these microplanes are very, very sharp. We don't let kids use them. And I mean, we would let older kids, like teens, use them. But we don't let kids use these in classes. Oh, it smells so delicious. I'm very excited. Okay. So our crust, ooh, 3 more minutes on our crust. Okay. Got about half of it done here. Oh, I'm finding all these yellow parts. As you zest it, the pith is a little bit more slippery than the lemon peel. It gets a little bit harder to hold on to. Okay. All right, I think we're good, guys. Done. Okay, so we're done with that. I'm just gonna go ahead and scrape all my zest because I'm pretty confident it's another tablespoon right there. Okay, so now we need to juice our lemons. So we need a third, of course I didn't bring a 3rd cup measure. That's okay. We'll just do a little less than a 1/2 cup. We need a 3rd cup of lemon juice, which given the size of these lemons, I think we're gonna end up with more, but we'll see. So what you can do, my lemon is already pretty soft because I was pressing it into the zester, but you know, sometimes lemons feel very firm and they don't feel very juicy. So what you can do if you want before cutting your lemon is you can roll it to kind of soften it up and get those juices flowing in the lemon, and then you can get more juice out of it. I'm gonna give mine, this one's already pretty soft, but I'll give it a little roll on the table. I'll do my other one. This one's a little firmer somehow. Okay, oh yeah, that feels great. So I'm gonna use a knife to cut the lemons in half crosswise. And then I have a juicer, which is pretty cool because it has a strainer built in. It kind of gets clogged, which is annoying. But the juice will strain down into here and all the seeds and the pulp and stuff will stay up here. So that's kind of nice. If you don't have this, you can just use a regular juicer and pour it through a strainer, or you can just pick the seeds and the pulp out with your fingers. Not that big of a deal. Okay, so I've got knife. I'm gonna cut these in half, lengthwise like that. I mean, crosswise. Okay, perfect. So now, take my juicer, get rid of my knife here. So you just want to line up the tip of the juicer if you're using one of these with the center of the lemon and press it down. That's our crust. Do you hear that timer? I'm gonna go check on our crust. I have a feeling they're gonna be done. I'm gonna take them out, and we want to set our crust aside to cool. The recipe says for at least 20 minutes. I think 10 minutes is probably fine as long as the sheet is cool enough that you can touch it. That's a good sign that it's cool enough to fill it. All right, hold on. Oh my gosh, guys, they're done and they look great. So this is what our crusts look like. So you can kind of see that they are very lightly browned, especially around the edges. So that's what we're going for. And these were just in for 12 minutes. Again, if you're baking it in one big pan, it's probably gonna take a little bit longer. I'm gonna set these aside to cool. And we can finish our filling while those cool. Okay, so line the middle of the lemon up with the tip of the juicer. Hold the juicer with one hand or have somebody that's with you hold it if you need to use both hands. And then you just want to press down and turn at the same time. If you want, you can stand up so you can press a lot harder. You can use like your body weight to press into it. That's totally cool. That's actually easier for me because I'm sitting down so low. And then you want it to be all hollowed out when you're done. Like that. Check it out. Okay. Oh, we have so much juice already. So because I have a half cup measure, we only need 1/3 of a cup. I'm gonna fill it just a little. Whoa, weird. My iPad got a phone call. Guess I should have unhooked it from my phone before starting. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's see. Another hollow one. So of course I told you my juicer is getting a little clogged. So I'm just gonna get rid of some of this pulp and seeds from here so that my juice can drain into the bottom cup. So that's only 1 lemon. I don't think we quite have enough yet. Let's see. I've got my half cup measure. Oop. Yeah, these seeds really want to come out of here. Strainer isn't as handy as you would think. Okay. Oh, got a couple seeds in there. So I think we definitely don't need 2 other halves for sure. I'm gonna juice 1 more half. And I think that's gonna be exactly what we need. I feel like there's a stray little seed in here somewhere. Oh, yep, I got it. Okay, 1 more. And if you have any extra lemon juice, you know what I love to do is basically make like a lemon tea. So I just put lemon juice in hot water or warm water and then mix in a spoonful of honey. So delicious. Okay, another hollow one. Oh, I did all 4. I thought I had only done 2 before. I ended up doing all 4. Okay, so let me get some of this, just move some of this pulp out of the way so we can. Okay, that's good. So I've got it about a little more than 3/4 of the way full. It's gonna be perfect. I'm gonna add my lemon juice here. So that's to our eggs and our lemon zest. Then let's see what we need. We still need sugar and flour. So we need 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So we'll add that. 1, whoops, my whisk fell in there. My whisk is too small for my bowl. And 2, to level sugar, you can almost kind of shake it. 2 and 3, we need 3/4. Or you can level it with your finger or your hand. 3, so that's 3/4 cup of sugar. And then we need 3 tablespoons of flour, of white flour. 1, and it's easier to level flour, it doesn't shake as well. 2, and 3. Okay. Now we whisk it up, and we want it to be smooth. So there are little bits of lemon zest in there, which is totally fine. The little, if you can see the little lemon color, the little yellow specks in your lemon bars, it's actually really pretty. But otherwise, we want it to be smooth. So we want the flour to kind of dissolve into the mixture, the sugar to dissolve into the mixture. We want the egg yolks and the whites whisked up really, really well. Okay? so we'll just whisk it for a few minutes. You can do circles. Oop, I just splattered my hand. Circles, you can do little zigzags. Now this, if you smell it, it smells so good. It smells so lemony, but we're not gonna taste it, remember? Because there's one ingredient in here that we definitely don't wanna eat raw. And that's the eggs. All right, so whisk, whisk, whisk. This is looking pretty good. Nice and yellow. Looks so pretty. All right, I think it's ready. So I'm gonna go check our crust to make sure they're cool enough to fill. They don't need to be completely cool, like I said, but we want them to be, yeah, cool enough so that they don't immediately start cooking the egg that's in here, right? Okay, so I'm gonna tap off my whisk, put that off to the side. And for filling, you can use a little ladle, or where did that go? Measuring spoon. Ah, it's in my flour. Or you can use a 1 tablespoon measure to kind of scoop our filling. You could also pour it into a pitcher and pour it among the muffin cups, whatever works for you. Okay, so I am able to hold my pan and it's barely warm. And even the bottoms of the cups, I had it on a cool granite countertop, so that helped to cool it a bit faster. So now we can take our a scoop, and we're just gonna scoop the filling. And we wanna distribute it evenly. So I think, not quite 2 tablespoons per muffin cup if you're doing that. This is where if you're making one large one, it's kind of easier because you just pour the filling in the whole pan. But since we need to divide it, and we want all of our lemon bars to be about the same size so that they cook at about the same rate in the oven. Otherwise you'll have some that get overdone while some are still raw. So I'm just doing 1 tablespoon in each to start, and then I'll go back and add another ½ tablespoon to each one. I feel like that's gonna be easiest. Last time I did 2 tablespoons in each, and I had to go back and take a little bit out of each one, which was, you know, kind of annoying. All right, so 1 and a little bit. Perfect. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Wow, am I still gonna have some? Let's see. I might need to go back around and do a few more drips in every one. Oh no, I'm almost done. Okay, let's see who needs a little bit more. That one, maybe that one. And we'll put it in this one. Okay. So now these are gonna go in the oven, and then I'm gonna go get the ones that I already baked to show you what they look like. So if you're making a full pan, it's probably gonna take about 20 minutes. Okay, with my muffins or the cupcake mold ones that I just did, it took about 15, but I probably could have taken them out a couple of minutes earlier. But I'll show you what they look like and tell you what to look for when you're baking yours. These are what our awesome lemon bars look like. So I think I took them a little too far because the edges are a little brown. I think that's actually gonna taste good, but they're not quite as pretty. I feel like I wish they hadn't browned as much around the edges. So I put them in for 15 minutes. My guess is they would have been done at 13 minutes, but I didn't want to keep going back to the oven and checking them. So I think these will still be delicious. I'll taste them and tell you. But so basically you're gonna know they're done when the tops of the filling is set. Okay, which means that if you can kind of tell it loses a bit of its shine, but if you gently, and you don't want to shake it too much, but if you, with an oven mitt, of course, gently move the pan in the oven, you don't want the tops to be jiggling like wet, okay? So that's how you know it's done, because the egg needs to be set, right? Because we don't want to eat any raw egg, and this has a fair amount of egg as far as, you know, proportion of egg in the batter. So you want it to be nice and set. So then you're going to want to use something like a little spatula or something where you can loosen the lemon bar from the side of the cupcake mold. So apparently I didn't grease mine well enough. And yeah, so these are a little bit firm, because like I said, I think I overcooked them slightly, but no big deal. Oh, look at that. It's very pretty. So you put it on a plate, and then you can use powdered sugar. So you can use one of these awesome crank sifters. These are really fun, but not a lot of people have these. If you don't have them, you can just take a small fine mesh strainer and spoon the powdered sugar in. Or these are really fun too. You can get like a little shaker that has a strainer on top, okay? And then you can just put a little bit of powdered sugar in there and put the top on. Whoop. Okay, and then you give it a little dusting. You definitely want to wait till they're completely cool before doing this, because if you dust powdered sugar, the powdered sugar is just going to melt right into it. So this is beautiful. So I'll taste it just to make sure that it's good and let you guys know. Wow. I actually almost like that it's a little browned on the edges, because it has just a little bit of crispiness right around the edge, but not too much, you know? Wow. Sorry, so good. Oh my gosh. I hope your guys' lemon bars turn out amazing. Please post pictures, because we'd love to see them. And very exciting news, by the way, is we just put up our schedule for all of May. I'm sorry we didn't put it up before yesterday, but we're still doing this class every week. We're also doing a Monday 4 p.m. family dinner meatless Mondays. So those are both on Facebook Live. And then we're starting Zoom classes, and we're gonna do those on Fridays. So that allows us to be a lot more interactive, so people need to register in advance for them, and those are fee-based classes. But then we'll be able to see everybody on video, and people can interact and ask questions. So those are really fun, and we've got a really awesome seasonal recipe lineup for that. Spring into spring. It sounds so hopeful and fun, right? So hopefully you guys can join in on that. We've got a Tots Can Cook class Fridays at 10 a.m. and a Kids Can Cook class Fridays at 11:30 a.m. So you can register for those on our website. And what else? Oh, for the Facebook Live classes, if you guys are enjoying it and are able, we would so appreciate if you can contribute whatever you can through the PayPal link that's on our website. And yeah, thanks so much for cooking with us, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Okay, have a great day.